Hello everyone, welcome back in another video. Today, date is 3rd of November 2022, and in our today's video, we are going to see data binding. So basically, why we need a data binding? We need data binding for make communication or contact in between our user interface, that is UI, in our Angular, that is HTML, and make a contact or communication with their component which is present in our Angular. So there is a make some binding between both for make a relative communications. So basically, there was a two types of bindings are there. There is a one way or a two way. In one way binding, there was we are transferring the data from UI to the component file in our Angular, and in another side, we are transferring the data from component to the our UI. When we're transferring data from UI to the component, that time we create any event. That means, suppose there is a UI interface. On that there is a one of the feature for login. So that time there is a providing a space for username and password, and there is a login button is there. When we press that login button, that time one event is created behind that login, and that login process can convey that user ID and password to the app.component file which is present in our Angular. So that is the one kind of a binding between the our front end and Angular. That is the one way communication. And when we are have to grab the data or fetch the data from our component file, that time we are transferring the source from our component file to the UI. That time we directly transfer the resource or source from our component file. That is the another type of a one-way communication, one-way binding. So these are two types of a one-way binding. For transferring data from UI to component, that time we are creating a simply event, and that simply event can created by using some buttons or some additional features like login button. Behind that login button, there was a click function is there. When we write a click function within the parenthesis, and then we pass the name of method which are written within our component file, that time that login method can transfer the data which is given from a UI to the component file. So that is the one way of communicating between the UI to the our component. Okay, so data now transferring into the our component. After that, we need a get data from our component to the UI. Suppose we are having a data of students, and we have to fetch the data of student from our component file to the UI. That time we can transfer that data by using two methods, two different types. So one of the type is by using values. That means when we use a values within a square bracket, after that after value we pass the name. We are passing the name of that method, which are we are passing the actually title from our component file, and that component file can transfer the data to the UI by using a value. And another type is that by using a interpolation. So syntax for interpolation is that we are writing a two curly braces. That means curly braces, and after that curly braces, and between that curly braces we pass the title of that particular method or particular handler. After that handler, the data can be transferred from our component to the UI. So these are the two ways for one-way communication. But if we have to make a two-way communication, that means when I'm logged in my application, that means I'm passing my ID and password, and then I'm click on a login. That time I have to transfer my data from UI to the component, and then if that login is successful, then I need a reply or I need a message from component to the UI. So that is the two-way communication or two-way binding. So for achieving the two-way communication, we have to import the form. We have to import the form package in our component or in our communication features. So when we are using a when we are importing a component package, that time we are able to use a feature of a ng model. That means we have to write ng model in our component in our UI at HTML. That time we have to write like that. Within curly braces there is a square bracket, and within the square bracket there is a there is our uh, parenthesis. Within that parenthesis we are giving a title. So when we and after that there is a equal to sign and name of that method. That suppose there is a password, and after that there is a within that within that parenthesis we can write a ng model and equal to password. And for the username we are again write as curly braces square bracket parenthesis. Within that parenthesis we can write a ng model, and after that equal to and username. So after that after that ng model, that data which are come from a UI is conveyed toward the conveyed toward to the our component. If the data is present or login method is done, or if that data is not matched with the database, that time they return the message as a wrong user ID or wrong password. If that completing the login process, that time we need a message as a login successful. So that time we can easily get the reply from our component. If that condition is satisfied, if we are using the ng model, that time we are able to get a response in the form of a pop-up menu. If the login is successful, then we get the pop-up menu as a login as a successful. So that is the one of the kind of a communication or binding from UI to the component. That is the two-way two-way binding. So these are two different types of binding, one way and two way, which are used in our Angular or for communicating between our Angular and UI. So this is overall about binding.